I wrote a play, produced it, and directed it many years ago. It was called The Angel's Kiss. And I'm going to tell you a few stories from this play. The spine of the play is stories that a father tells his 3-year-old child at bedtime. One of them, and the most important, is all children, when they go to sleep at night, go to heaven. And before they awaken in the morning, they are kissed by an angel to make them forget. Jenny goes to heaven with the rest. And somehow she is kissed differently. They were kissed on the upper lip. She is kissed on the forehead. And she finds afterwards that she remembers. She just doesn't remember what she remembers. Second story. A starving 4-year-old boy, father as a child. In wartime, refugees walking from eastern Poland to Vienna, no food for 4 days. A cart near them, where they all stop, contains a father who has got a big loaf of bread and is cutting pieces of the bread for his children. The 4-year-old boy's grandfather asks whether he might have a tiny piece of bread. The man refuses. And the grandfather, the Zayde, who is the Dayan, the judge of the area and a very religious man, pulls a knife and points it at the man and says, "You give my grandson a piece of bread." This is the father's greatest memory of a torturous childhood. And he tells the little girl that story many times. And years pass, a couple of years, and her brother comes in one day and says nastily, "You know, he didn't get the bread. The man didn't give it to him." At that point, the little girl decides to climb out the window, and she runs away. She runs away to find heaven. She searches everywhere, but she doesn't know the way. She talks to one person or another, and they question her. She hasn't found it. At one point in the story, a great river, the Sambatyan, sweeps children into heaven. They have been going into heaven throughout the play. But I'm not telling you those parts. She, Jenny, is left behind. She falls. She'd been giving up. And when she falls, she meets a nasty, revolting man who invites her to stay forever with him in the cold, with tears running down the wall, and the food is your own fingers. He tries to give her terrible clothing, and she notices that those were her own clothes. He says some peculiar things like that the foot falls into the footstep. But all of what he says propels her to go on and move forward, to run away from him. Well, she finds herself where the war is raging. Remember that they were running away from the war. A cart comes, with a grandfather and a mother and a little boy. And they ask for bread. She has no bread. She sees a miserable orphan outcast girl, shivering, starving, bleeding from her feet. Desperate, and she says, "We were together and suddenly I wasn't there and I don't know how and why and I don't know how to get back there and I'm lost and I'm so lonely." Jenny ministers to her, combs her hair, cleans her face and so forth, and finally bends down and unwraps the bloody cloths that she uses for food and gives her her own shoes, during which the girl puts something into Jenny's pocket, and the cart returns. She now has bread to give. The boy who was her father. When the boy the bread, there is an eruption of joy. The people who were at war, the people who were starving, the people who were hiding are all in great joy because suddenly it has become possible to leap over the Sambatyan, which is also the Jordan, and the Danube, which is the river of Vienna, into heaven. Everyone, including Jenny, but she is torn because her father cannot go. He encourages her, and the little boy to whom she had given bread encourages her and teaches her how to leap. And finally, she leaps into the mighty river with the rest. We return to the father telling stories to his 3-year-old. The last one, Sarech bat Asher, the daughter of Asher, one of the sons of Jacob, is living in paradise forever. But when the Messiah comes, she will lead the 10 lost tribes back over the Sambatyan to visit her father, and also Jenny to visit her father. The rabbi wants me to make sure to tell you that that disgusting man was one of the 36, and that the orphan girl was the Shechina. I have a question. Does the future knows the past? Is everyone here? The father who is dead, the everyone? Did the angel who kissed Jenny know about the Shechina? Is she the same? Are they one? How is it that that little boy, the 4-year-old, and the father knew to expect Jenny to come and fulfill, let's say, her filial obligation of love, to give him, as a 4-year-old, a piece of bread? And lastly, was that kiss, the angel's kiss, an accident?